Welcome once again to This Fire Media, your one-stop shop for all of your media needs. Websites, brands, commercials, press kits, flyers, ads, you name it, we do it. Today, we have an amazing guest, a special guest on our Marketing Media podcast, Trish Seidel. She adds value to the space. She's an all-around good person,
Oh,
and she is your marketing big sis. Trish, how
sure.
you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. I can't complain, can't
Thanks
complain.
for having
Excited
me.
about our interview today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's very cool that I know that we are like 9 hours apart
Yeah,
around the world, but we're making it work. So
there we go. There we go. Are you originally from Paris?
no, I'm American born and raised, but I've been here mainly on and off since I was 17, but I've been here like in France the last 10 years permanently.
Okay.
So yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely. So can we start off? Can you tell our viewers just a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first time I'm going to say this publicly, but I am Trish, the founder of Big Sister Marketing, which is very exciting. Very exciting. I've been in the corporate world for the last 11 years as various marketing roles, generally in terms of content, heads of content, things like that. But now I'm moving into my own business, my own space, which is now again saying it for the first time. Very exciting. The founder of Big Sister Marketing, which is a mentorship program for all marketers, CEOs, professional coaching, as well as marketing consulting on all levels. So very excited, very happy to be here.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so what got you into marketing? What got you into being passionate about your field?
Oh my gosh, it kind of chose me, and it's kind of funny how I got into marketing in general. But I was working here. It was my first year in Paris, and I was 20 years old, and I was looking for a job, and I found a job in a humanitarian organization, a nonprofit organization called the Women's World Wide Web, and we kind of did an audit of my talents. I was a volunteer at that stage, and they were like, "Trish, like you're a great writer. We think that you'd be great in our editorial manager role," and I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. I was 20 years old. Who am I going to say no to that? And so I started there and I ended up staying there for about 6 years. And I ended up finding a love for marketing, everything marketing, communications, content. I feel like I had a real talent in that space. And so it kind of chose me in a weird way. It was, I guess, destiny, I guess I'd like to say.
There we go. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. Sometimes destiny works out great, doesn't it?
It sure does. It sure does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you share a couple tips with us? I know there's like a general sphere of like knowledge that people have about social media and marketing, and it's kind of a field that people may or may not feel they have a grasp on. I know some people do. What are some general tips I think that you can give us that can better our audience's content and media presence, digital presence?
Yeah, I think the first thing I'd like to circle back onto what you said is that some people feel like they have a grasp on it. I think that that is an illusion. I think that on social media, things are changing so quickly and rapidly that we kind of become experts in change versus experts in social media, right? It is vast and wildly different on every platform, right? So I think that, but what I can say for a general tip is that being flexible and comfortable with change is definitely one of them. And just the insane amount of consistency, right? And I think I heard this the other day. It was saying that like, unless you've posted like 100 videos on TikTok, you should not consider yourself started, right? When you
Yep.
think about that, that's 100 days. If you post one video a day for 100 days, that's over 3 months. That is an entire quarter of just pure learning that you have to do in order to be at least marginally comfortable, right? I've been on LinkedIn for the last 2 years, and I have great traction on LinkedIn, but I can't say that that anything outside of consistency will get you to where you want to be. The consistency, the drive, the dedication is far more important than any like life hack, any algorithm hack, any hook, any whatever, right? Yes, there are best practices to follow, but having the consistency and the drive and motivation and the unfallible desire to succeed in social media, that is what is the key to success. You're just not going to let yourself quit. You're not going to let yourself stop. And on a more practical note, I guess if we are looking for like actual tips outside of just consistency, authenticity is a big one as well. Is that you don't ever want to hide your personality. You don't want to water down your personality. You don't want to kind of come up with a digital persona, which can be very easy to slip into when it comes to like putting yourself online, whether it's through TikTok or whether it's through LinkedIn on a more professional space. We have a tendency to like water ourselves down and to think and self-edit and over edit the way that we write, the way that we talk, the way that we think, the way that we do X, Y, and Z, right? And the reason that social media works is because people are looking for a connection to another human. And even if it's something like LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a professional social network, and it is still a social network. There's this social aspect to it that we can't ignore. And so really leaning into your personality and your strengths is a huge one that is a huge activator for success, and it's been a huge activator for my brand.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Yeah, I'm taking it all in, and I'm learning as well. So keep
Yeah.
dropping the gems. Keep dropping the gems. Okay. What are some of the best ways to generate leads and retain clients?
Through social media or through marketing in general?
Whichever one you choose to give us.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think I have a very strong belief that in any marketing, like lead generation marketing strategy, the spine of whatever the strategy is content, right? We cannot ignore it. Content is the thing that connects us to people, connects us to services. It pushes us to start a free trial. It pushes us to interact with a brand, whatever, right? And so investing in content, in high quality content and very precise content is a great way to invest in lead generation in the short, medium, and long term, right? And so we're talking about long-term lead generation strategies, depending on the company, right? Depending on if you're B2C or B2B or whatever, these strategies are going to look a hair different depending on, again, like your different marketing funnels. So making a blanket generalization, I think that content is the best way to go in terms of a very sustainable, authentic lead generation strategy.
Mm.
When it comes to B2B in this space, SEO is one of the most effective things that you can be doing, right? Again, and it's not a short-term strategy, it is a medium to long-term strategy that, again, you're not going to get the return on investment right away, but there's never a bad thing to having high quality content on your website or on any of your platforms, right? And the goal to make this a shorter term strategy to invest in the high quality content is to take all of that SEO content and have it trickle down to all of your other channels. So we call this content recycling, content repurposing, whatever you want to call it. It is about boosting the ROI of your content that is going to activate your other channels of acquisition, whether it's social media, whether it's newsletters, whether it's emailing, outreach, cold mailing, cold calling, etc. Right? So you're trying to use all that content to either get your foot in the door for another conversation or for an initial conversation, or letting it activate your inbound funnel, right? So I think that is kind of the highest quality tip that I can give, is that investing in high quality content and then recycling it to every single channel that you activate and that you're using is going to be the most effective, the most cost effective for your marketing teams, and the best way to increase lead generation in every company, whether it's B2B or B2C.
Well said. Well said. Speaking of working with a budget, a smaller budget, what would you say for some people who are building a content strategy? Because I don't feel like a lot of people know too much about content strategy at all. You know,
Mhm.
what would you say to people that didn't have a lot of money but needed to build a strong content strategy for their business?
I love this question because it is such a great example of, again, the power of content in general, right? So if I were to have zero budget, and I'm talking about zero, nothing, nada, you're a one-person marketing team, or you're a solo entrepreneur, or you're a small business or whatever, right? You want to invest in one piece of unique, solid, extremely well written content. Okay. And if
Mm.
you have $0, then it's something that you would write yourself. The founder, the co-founder, the solo marketer, whatever, right? It can be a white paper, an ebook, a research report, an infographic. You're doing research. You're trying to create a piece of thought leadership. So now you're not following a trend. You're not recycling a competitor's piece of content that they've already created. You're trying to introduce something new to the market. right? And again, B2C versus B2C looks B2B, excuse me, B2B versus B2C looks a little bit different in what these kinds of content can be, right? But generally, you want to produce and spend the time and invest the time into producing a really unique, well done, clear, unique POV piece of content, right? And then your content strategy is then to distribute that and activate it as much as possible, again, to all of your other channels. So let's take an example. If you are doing, you produced a white paper, a research report on, I don't know, the local, the rise of importance and utilization of Pilates in the last 5 years, right? Pilates is super popular. I'm a Pilates girly, which is why I'm using that example. Has become extremely popular in the last 5 years, like hot girls do Pilates, things like that, right? If you want to do a research report on this trend, right? You do the research, you maybe hire, if you have the money, hire a research company in order to help you. You produce it yourself through different interviews, through different chats with different industry experts, etc., right? Collect the data. Then you're going to divide it into infographics for social media. You're going to divide it into different text posts for your social media. You're going to have the founders, the co-founders, everyone in the C-suite write personal branded LinkedIn posts about this report, right? And then you're going to have them again decline it. It's a French word. I'm sorry. You're going to have it like broken down into, again, every infographic in that report goes onto their personal social media. You create a video that summarizes the report. Then you push it on ads if you have the budget, right? You want to create a webinar on different chapters of this white paper or this report, right? You invite an industry expert to collaborate with you on the webinar, or someone that you maybe interviewed for the report as a webinar, right? Then you send it out via email to, you have the sales send it out via email to all their prospects, etc., right? So you can see how far one really great piece of content can go. It can sustain you for 1 quarter, 2 quarters, up to a year if you do it properly, right?
Wow.
And that is a fantastic way to really suck all of the investment out of such a piece that created time to produce, right? So like resource in, resource out, you want to make sure that your resources out are 10 times what you put into it, whether it's financial or just a simple like internal resources that you've used to create it, right? So to me, that is like the best way for a small company, a no budget, low budget, whatever, to focus on content and lead generation is to, again, invest at the beginning and then distribute it to the max. Whew, that was a long answer for a very short question. I'm sorry.
No, you know what? It was amazing. It was an amazing answer. And I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative. I'm gonna go back and watch this and break some of this down for myself. Use this for some of my own personal branding. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate
Highly applicable to anyone in any scenario, right?
Sure, sure. Speaking of content creation, how do you feel like content creation will evolve in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, it's all going to be video.
Yeah.
We're going to throw text out the window, I think. And I love that. I mean, we've seen this start to happen, and we've been moving this way for a long time, like since YouTube became super popular, since Google bought YouTube, etc., right? Like, but now we're even seeing the evolution of LinkedIn, who has taken a long time to catch up to video. They're now promoting like small reels style content in the in your I'm gonna say For You page. That's not what it is, but you know, like your news page. And I think for the farther and farther that we go in that direction, the more people are going to want to see just more and more humanized content, right? And that doesn't necessarily have to be in video, but it could be in other forms, like even ads, making sure everything is super humanized and authentic and coming from real people, right? And I think that that's where really we're heading towards, is just as much authentic content as we can get. And I would expect that to continue to grow.
Do you think that even if people don't have their own business, or like let's say professionally, they weren't really pushing like a strong digital presence. Do you think that in the future, in the next 3 to 5 years, people will have to have a stronger digital presence?
That's a great question. I think there's Yes and no. I think that in order to, at one point, having a digital presence becomes a question of like trust and authority, right? So it may not be how your business is discovered, but it will play into the factor of how much you convert, right? So I think that the first reflex that lots of people have these days to like, even if you get a recommendation from word of mouth, you're going to Google them. You're going to Google the person, look up their LinkedIn, look up the business, make sure that they have Google reviews, make sure that you're not being scammed or basically, you know what I mean? See what
Yeah.
other people have thought about them, right? So I think that it becomes almost an act of, again, of reassurance to aid in the conversion and authoritativeness instead of necessarily like, I'm going to discover you through Google this way, right? Um, so I think that it is, yes, obligatory. Is that an English word?
Yes.
Obligatory?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. An
All good.
obligation. It's an
Yeah.
obligation, but maybe not necessarily always to just for the actual discovery of your business. Like, yes, that's always going to be a good thing, but it's not how all businesses work. And I think that it would be a mistake to put all the businesses in the world to be like, no, you have to be online and you have to be on all the social media and you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to be successful. Lots of businesses are extremely successful just through word of mouth that are just product led, that are just X, Y, and Z, right? And we
Mhm.
see it all the time. And then once they reach a certain stage, they're like, okay, well, maybe we should like do some marketing once they've hit a certain revenue, whatever. But when you think about it, like Microsoft and Apple got really big before there was all of this different advertising and advertising platforms. And so I think it would be a mistake to be like, you have to, but I think it's going to make a difference in the end, in terms of how much you convert and how fast you grow.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Understood.
Yeah,
Do you feel that with your experience, because so you've been in the U.S., you've been in Paris. Do you feel like the landscape is evolving in the same or similar way? The social media landscape.
Yes and no. I think Europe it's just a hair behind the US in general, kind of everywhere for everything, right? Like things that are trending in the US, like I'll use Pilates as a good example. Like spinning and Pilates were way more popular in the US before they came to Europe, right? All of that like convenience based things are much more popular in the US, like more Western markets before they come to Europe. And I think that's probably true of marketing tactics as well. Like for example, cold mailing is still kind of a popular marketing tactic here, which would never work in the United States. Like honestly, like I don't cold mailing in the US is like unless you're doing it in a super hyper personalized, you have a super qualified list, that's different, right? But like sending out massive amounts of cold mails is still quite popular in France. And like I'm only speaking for France because that's what I know.
Sure.
But you know what I mean? It's like there are things that are still just a little bit behind because Europeans in general are less tech savvy than Americans, right? Again, I'm making global generalizations, but that again, after working in many French startups where we target the US market with a French tech product, um, repositioning our product, repositioning the way we talk about our product is 10 times more advanced. And they're not the same pain points that we would target here in Europe, right?
Mm.
So we're a little less tech savvy, like, and so
Yeah.
I think that plays into that as well.
Yeah.
So did that answer your question at
Oh, it
all?
definitely did. It definitely
Okay,
did.
okay. I was like, I kind of
Absolutely.
like lost sight of what the actual question was. So there. So thank you.
You did an amazing job. You did a great job. Um, yeah, okay. Uh, can you give us some words to run with, some parting words, something strong? I know that you do consultations,
I do.
on a consultations, and
Yeah.
um, I can. I mean, I want a consultation.
Anytime, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like for people that want to reach out to you? What can they expect?
Yeah. So I am known on LinkedIn as your marketing big sister, because I run, before Big Sister Marketing existed, I wanted my social media to be a safe place for everyone in transition in their careers, right? Marketing is tough. It is a tough
Yeah.
industry to be in because it is the one job that everybody thinks that they can do better than you, even if they've never done marketing before. right? Everyone has an opinion, everyone has feedback, everyone pushes back, right? And so it can be a very difficult um, industry to be in, and not outside of the fact that it's changing all the time, right? And when you think about it, like a lawyer, your metric of success is knowing the law, right? In sales, your metric of success is making sales, right? Is increasing your pipeline and whatever. In marketing, our metric of success is varied depending on what industry you work in, what company you work for, how big the marketing team is in your company, how much marketing is contributing to the business objectives, right? Like there are very few guideposts when it comes to marketing of being what good marketing is. And it's something I struggled with a lot in the early part of my career of being like, am I doing what I'm doing right? How do I know where I'm getting if I'm being successful outside of just like generating more leads? And I just needed someone to tell me that I was doing okay, right? And thankfully, I've had fantastic mentors in my career who have really shaped me into the marketer that I am. And it was really important for me when I left the humanitarian sector. So I worked in like social good tech, is what we call it in French, is like social tech, up until my most recent corporate job here at Just, where I'm actively the head of content, is like pure tech. I wanted to be able to give back in a way because I wasn't working in the humanitarian space anymore. I wanted to give back to the world. And yeah, and so I was thinking about what was important to me, and that's how Marketing Big Sister was born. Is that I was having these wonderful coffee chats with LinkedIn people. You know, like the social aspect of LinkedIn is like meeting great people. And I was having coffee chats with them, and they're like, Trish, like you're like my big sister. You're like my big sister. And I heard that like 3 or 4 times in a row, and I was like, huh, like that sounds like something interesting, right?
Sure.
And and I promise I'm going somewhere with this. I'm not just talking.
It's okay. That's here.
But
That's here.
yeah, and so I was like, okay, my way to give back is to offer these like 30-minute mentorship sessions where I open my calendar. It was 10 slots a week for a while, and I've reduced a little bit because it is a lot of time. And I open my calendar up for 30-minute sessions, and they're free, and you can come and connect with me, and we talk about anything and everything, whether it's a marketing problem, whether it's a human problem, whether it's a corporate problem, whether it's just like you're feeling stuck in your career and in your life, and you'd be surprised at how often we're not talking about marketing in these calls.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it was born. And now it's turned into a full-fledged like mentorship program. So I have mentors or mentees that I see every 2 weeks or once a week, depending on their needs. And we work through specific problems, and like we work on and train on specific things like SEO, paid, performance marketing, etc. And it's individualized to every person. So come connect with me on LinkedIn, and we will get you set up, whether it's a free session that you need or whether you're looking for a longer term mentor. I'm here for you.
Amazing. Amazing. Can you give everybody your socials and how to reach you?
Yeah, so my LinkedIn, you can obviously connect with me on LinkedIn. It is Trish Seidel on LinkedIn. So there's not that many of us. There's just me. And obviously I'm on TikTok at Trish Seidel. My TikTok has nothing to do with marketing content, but if you want to follow me for like fashion Pilates, you're welcome to. Hopefully starting marketing content on TikTok soon. And that's pretty much how you can get in touch with me. My website will be available soon. It is in construction, so hang in there with me. But LinkedIn and TikTok are the best way to get connected with me.
Beautiful. Would you like to leave us with some parting words?
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Parting words. I feel like I need to say something very sage and wise and insightful. But I guess today, I hope if you take anything away from this conversation is that you are doing great and that you are appreciated and by everyone in your life, and that you're doing as best as you can with the knowledge that you have today. And that's all that anyone can ask of you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Trish, the big sis,
Yeah,
you over there. Thank you so much for your time.
of
And
course.
we'll talk soon.
Yes. Talk to you soon. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right.